billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You have been sitting for such a long time. Don't you just want to get up and give yourself some circulation at the back? Don't you want to just stand up, stand up, stand up? And yes, stretch and hug the person next to you. Go on, hug the person next to you. All right, good. Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Right, now I can get your full attention, all right? Because you circulated everywhere. All right. Right. I just would like to let you know that my topic for discussion today is redirecting our efforts into humanitarianism for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would like you to listen. Why do you think I am thinking of this? You know, I've lived through the COVID. I'm well into my 70s. I've come through apartheid. I was there when we snatched one of our ANC guys from Indale Hospital while I just distracted the nurses while that was happening. So I've been through it all. But you know what really, really, really gets my goat? Is the fact that we want to do things for people. We want to do it, and we do it. However, we do it, like you will all know, we do it so much for show. We do it so much for show, and we are not afraid to be a Muslim person and still hold those cameras and take those children's pictures who are getting your food, who are getting the bag of groceries. And yet there are so many ways of doing it. You dish up the food, you put it on the table and let everybody take it. Or you line all those bags like the Caring Sisters Network did during COVID. You line all the groceries there and let people just come and take it. I know you need funding. But remember, that funding will come if you just display the goods and you write letters of thanks and get people sending letters of thanks. So this is why I just felt, let me speak on redirecting our humanitarianism as in that picture for the sake of Allah's pleasure. I'll tell you when to send that. Right. So let's define humanitarianism. Humanitarianism is an active belief in the value of human life. Okay? You valuing human life, whereby humans practice benevolent treatment and provide assistance to other human beings, not only the poor. There are many other people we also help, right? This is done to reduce suffering and improve the conditions of humanity. Mark my word, humanity, for moral and emotional reasons. So when you are doing these things, should you be standing there going onto your chest and saying, I am doing this, we did this, and we did this, and we put this person in this home, and so on. Now that really hurts me. I don't know how many other people it hurts, but it really hurts me. And I work in the communities, as Fatima told you, I work with 5 clinics in rural areas. And I've had so many people say, why do they take pictures and put it in the paper? And I say, well, sometimes other people would see that and bring more money in so we can help you more, with an embarrassment on my face. But just to make a little bit light what they're feeling. So this is what I am really, really talking about today. I would like people to pay their rent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for living on this earth, for breathing Allah's air and walking on His ground. Because you need to be careful how you walk, because that ground can tomorrow be the roof over your grave. Right? So let us look and do things in such a way that, we appreciate the people who gave us that to give to other people, but we also...
A very good...
Oh,
I just wanted to... We will start a birthday formality, but kindly alter...
Sorry? Have I got competition? Have I got competition? Okay. Sorry about that, ladies. Okay, we'll go on to... Is that okay now? Hilaal is in competition with me. I'm just such a small nothing. Oh, it wasn't you. It was somebody else. Okay. Sorry about that, Hilaal. Sorry. Okay, I'll go on to my introduction. Do good things whether others notice you or not. Deeds matter, not the size of your audience, not how much people clap for you, not how much people say, oh, she's such a lovely lady. She gave us so many things. It's not for that. You are doing it for the pleasure of Allah. It is easier to give examples, but hard to become an example, isn't it? It is easier to really give examples of people, but it is harder to become an example. Now I'm quoting this because it's not mine. Always remember, there's no need for appreciation for what you do. It doesn't serve you. You're doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it in the name of somebody, or you're doing it to bring relief. You don't need people now standing there and saying, Jazakallah, Allah be with you. Yes, you can say it in your mind, but you don't need that. You need to know you are doing this, and Allah is omnipotent, and Allah is everywhere, and Allah is noticing that. Right? Do what you do because it serves the conversation between the voice in your heart and the voice in the deepest part of your being. In the deepest part of your being. Be grateful for the opportunities to answer these calls that people come to you with. Because this is where you fill that endless source of being. That is where you serve every you, every essence, every being. And in so doing, you take precious steps closer to the eternal beloved, unquote. Why do we show kindness to others while our families, our parents are ignored? Why do we need old age homes? Why do we need to fight for a place in an old age home? This is not Islam. Yes, I know there's work, both parents want to work and so on. But I've been to so many old age homes where parents are just thrown in there, left there, the grants being collected. So these are the things that worry me. These are the things we need to do for the pleasure of Allah, right? And then we go on to support. We'll go on to support, right? Okay, now we perceive the world through more than our eyes and ears. We smell, we touch, and we taste. And we need to do that all with absolute kindness, and don't pull up your noses. Put your audience in that place and provide them a point of reference. The imagination will do the rest. Don't write your name on the sand. I've done this. Because the waves will wash them away. Don't write your name in the sky on a balloon or whatever, because the wind will blow it away. Let's do it for the satisfaction of Allah, for the sheer pleasure of Allah. Write your name inside the hearts of people you come in touch with. A gentle hug. Just touch them and feel their heart beating against yours. That's where it'll stay. Okay? When you realize just how beautiful life is and how privileged you are to be alive, to witness the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will be really tilting your head backwards and saying to the sky, gratefully, Jazakallah for giving us what you have. And that is so important. Next one. Nobody rides for free, okay? Nobody rides for free in this world. People may not reward or thank you for the good things you've done. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your reason for serving, you will receive greater blessings in return. When giving alms to the poor, remember every single person has a story that will break your heart. And if you are paying attention, many people have a story that will bring you to your knees to thank Allah for what you have. Be the reason that believes in the goodness of people. Every person, whether it's your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, or just anybody, they have some good. We are all wired differently. We are all wired differently. And when we do things, I want to say, let's just do it for the pleasure of Allah. Do not say, what can I do? Just have to take what the old bag says. You just do it for the pleasure of Allah. Okay? Tomorrow, or maybe many years down the line, you will be that old bag because you would know what having your child was and meant to you. right? Now, we are going on to the fact that you are important. I don't know why the slide is a bit too big there, but in any case, you will always be, remember that, you will always be part of some people's life. You may never find out where you fit, but others will fill up the spaces in their life with pieces of you because you are so important, because you have done things for them. So when you wonder why you are on this earth, remember that others' life may never be complete without you. So when you are doing what you want to for those people, do it with love, courtesy, humanity, affection, and no arrogance. And you will find how beautiful you personally feel because Allah has recognized that. A quiet, loving word, a simple act of kindness can change someone's day. Give this gift to someone. When you look and you admire people, who are totally beautiful, that are, oh, I wish I had her skin. Oh, I wish I had her hair. Oh, I wish I had her ability. When you do that, remember that's fleeting. That's just fleeting. It's not going to be there forever. But as you grow older, real beauty travels from your face to your heart. Nurture it there, right? Appeal turns to charm. And I love the elder person. I love working with the elderly. And when they look at you with that smile, with no teeth, and they say, thank you, Jazakallah, it touches the very, very core of your heart. It can be in any language. I work mainly with the Black people. And Gyabonga. My little niece from granddaughter, actually, my brother's granddaughter, from the time she was 6, she was running out with me, going out and doing, as we call it, sewa and AIDS work. Today she's busy with her megatronics. And the one day she sat with me and we were washing these ladies' feet, clipping their toenails. And she was doing it with me on the lady next to me. And the lady cried. And I thought she had hurt her clipping her nails. I said, oh, Ma, why? She says, because never, in Zulu, she said, never in my life anybody touched my feet. So why can't we do those kind of things? Go out there, take care of those people. Isn't this what Allah would want us to do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed us on this earth, given us what we have to be able to do things for people. And the true beauty is not how happy you are now, but how happy others are because of you. You have a reason to be alive. There's so many of you that have perhaps had strokes, that have had all kinds of things. I just would like to share with you, having this knee repair or knee, when they placed an object into my knee, the pain was so totally unbelievable. Had I not had my sister, I don't think I would have come through it. Jazakallah Aisha. She is outside. She's come as my helper today. Right. And remember, you are very, very important. All of us have gone through this pain. So when you see that old lady lying on that bed, go and touch her. They love being touched. Right, the next point is humanitarianism enhanced. We feel we are giving so much when we give money to someone else. Okay, here's my 20,000. Go and buy groceries and give to the people. You know, and we get boxes and boxes of it. One person from that home coming in and touching it and giving to people. Wouldn't that be such a beautiful example of humanitarianism? It would be, right? So, you know, when you feed people on the street, you know, you go give them the food and others will come. They'll come again because this is like the only food they'll have for the next week. And what do people do? And I've been with them. They say, you had it. Give the other people, you know, rather than talking gently and organizing yourself on how to do it. Right. How come we place our parents in that room? They cannot walk, they cannot talk. How about bringing them in to join you for your dinner, for your lunch? That would be so enriching and absolutely satisfying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, people have huge SUVs and combis, but how many have taken the time to go into a cripple home, an old age home, or anywhere else and take those people out for a drive on the beach? Isn't that redirecting your humanitarianism? Is it? I see you shaking your head, but it is something that would say to them, this is the first time I've seen the beach. This is this and that. You know, take them wherever you feel you want to take them. That is safe. Right. And I just feel knowledge decides what to say. Your knowledge that you've earned, you've gathered, decides on what you say. Skill, now the skill with which you do it, decides how much to say and when to stop. So I'm going to be stopping just now, okay? And wisdom decides whether to say it or not. And that's what we need to realize. And that's what humanitarianism is all about. Allah's promise to you, and that is never give up. Go through difficult situations because those difficult situations make you stronger. And you know, situations teach you a lot. The other day, I was asked just suddenly, what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? I just stood planted to the ground. And then I said, well, I don't know, but I'm going to give you this example. Knowledge is good for you to know. Knowledge would say a tomato is a fruit, right? A tomato is a fruit. But wisdom will say you can't put it into a fruit salad, right? Reach those with needs. Work with dignity. Jazakallah. Work with dignity. And remember, when you reach a precipice and you reach where you cannot, you're right in the corner, Allah will catch you as you fall. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach you how to fly if he can't catch you. Look at that picture, right? Those who do good deeds only to be seen of men, that's a quote from the Quran, right? Those who do good deeds only to be seen of men and withhold small kindnesses is like holding salt and sugar and water away from others, right? I'm just going to talk with you on this absolute father's pearls of wisdom. And that to me was so touching. There was this complex, and everybody takes it in turn to give that security guard something to eat at lunchtime. And while the father sat there, he saw his daughter taking a tray, just everything smacked onto the tray, and she's taking it to the guard. And the father said, "Bring it here, my Betty. Bring it here. I'd like to see what you're giving." He says, "Darling, go into the kitchen, put the food onto a plate, put a fork and knife there, even if it's plastic. Put some juice that we are going to be having for him to drink. And then go give it to him." And this is emotional gratification, isn't it? It's emotional gratification, because that man will not think he's a beggar. He will not think that he's just being thrown things at, isn't it? And giving with dignity and caring. Food is charity of money, but the arrangement is charity of emotions. How you give it to people, right? There is a huge difference between giving money and giving soul. Giving soul to the people who feel they don't have a soul. Things you do for yourself die when you die. Things you do for others is your legacy. Remember that. You're going to leave that legacy. Okay, now I just want to come over to my last slide. And before I go on to that slide, I just would like to say to you, about 15 years ago, I was chosen by the then vice president to be the second best nurse in South Africa on HIV and AIDS. Right? And Allah made it possible, going at night, teaching people, going wherever, and my family cringing. And I don't tell them very much like you, my friend, not telling your family where you are. And then, you know, I used to go in and do these things for the sake of my teaching the community on HIV and AIDS. And here I'm being recognized. I didn't have much. I said, when they came to look at what work I'm doing, I said, "That's my cupboard. That's what I do. You can see what I do." And that's it. Then the occupational health. Remember, I'm coming from the apartheid years. The occupational health nurses were mainly whites. And then they gave me a little function because it was a very nice award that I got. And I brought the name of the occupational nurses into the limelight. And my then as I went to say thank you to everybody, there was this lady, as I passed her, she said, "Ah, man, Honey slept her way to the top." Yeah. Now, I thought of Allah. I said, "Allah, give me some help, yeah? I want to slap her across her face. I want to do something." But I said, "No, Allah, give me help here." So I said to her, I mentioned her name, and I said to her, "My darling, you are so right. You are so right. But you're not even my good friend. I don't remember us having tea or coffee together. I've been so busy, and I'm sorry I missed taking you out." Yes, I did sleep my way to the top. But you know how? I slept in taxi ranks. I slept in taxis. I slept in bus stops. I slept in buses. I slept in train stations and in trains, in planes. And I really slept at airports. And yes, I slept there because I needed to improve myself. I needed to improve myself, and that's why I am where I am. I'm sure that's what you meant, didn't you? I'm sure that's what you... She then looked at me, and the other girl said to her, "Yeah." And another girl, who's my friend, felt so bad for me. And she says, "Yeah." And that is why she's the first black person in South Africa to sit on the board of nursing, because she slept all over there. You know? So it's not what you have that matters, but what you give unflinchingly in Allah's name matters. And I promise you, when you are down there, Allah Pak is beside you, picking you up, holding your hand. And every hand you hold, remember Allah Pak is behind you, straightening your back with those people. So bend, hug children, hug people. Don't try to be triumphant. Sometimes winning a heart is more important than winning situations. Jazakallah for listening. It's yours.
Jazakallah khairan for that, Sister Honey. That was truly inspirational, especially for us working in the humanitarian field. We received a question via WhatsApp. I know a woman doesn't like to be asked her age, but someone wants to know how old you are. And
I'm 76.
okay. So she's 76 years old, mashallah. May Allah grant you much barakah in your life and excellent health. I mean, and he also, or she commented that you're an excellent speaker, mashallah. Okay, do we have any questions for Sister Honey? There's someone in the back with the hand raised.
Thank you for such an inspirational talk. I mean, you yourself is an inspiration to us all. Just with regard to what you've mentioned, that people, taking pictures, it's a very relevant thing at the moment, especially with the changes to the law, which mean that the distribution of images of people is regarded as processing of personal information in terms of the Act, the POPIA Act. The Act prohibits the distribution of personal information, including images of people without their consent. And people on the ground need to be aware of this as well. Also, the thing that you mentioned about dignity, everyone wants to be treated with dignity, whether you the giver or the receiver. The receiver doesn't want to be feel that he's begging for something. And to treat someone with dignity is to give them, and not broadcast this as images, or to show the work that you're doing, because what the right hand does, the left hand should not know about it. I don't know the paradigm of this forum as well, and I may be speaking out of turn, please forgive me, but I'd like to know, is the sponsors sitting around people right here amongst the people at the back as well? Are the sponsored being sitting at the back, or are they in the front? This forum in itself should be a sense of inclusivity as well. Even, people were talking on WhatsApp and different areas where people were protesting and throwing Jojo tanks down a road or whatever. You cannot give a community a Jojo tank when there's no water in there, right? Have people checked? Has water been delivered to communities? This is what dignity is about. You are playing with people's emotion. And Sister Hanifa, you've just hit the nail on the head. And thank you very much.
Okay, just to comment on what you said, we have the first two rows reserved for complimentary seating. Those are not just sponsors, they're also people who want tickets via the Weekly Gazette, and there is no reserved seating elsewhere in the venue. Some of the sponsors elected to sit at the back, and that's where they're seated. Our employees, who are very, very dear to us, were also given the option of sitting in the front two rows, as were their wives and their daughters, but they refused to do so. So just to clarify that. Secondly, some of you are going to be very unhappy when you see our brochure, because it's full of photography. But we don't photograph people receiving food, and we don't photograph people who are underprivileged, showcasing the fact that they're underprivileged. We basically showcase our beautiful bursary students because we want them to be proud of being part of the Ilm SA bursary program. And I think, alhamdulillah, they are. You'll see Aisha here and Seher here, who are now working. They've graduated. They don't have to be here, but they are here, alhamdulillah, and they happily allow us to showcase them in every edition of our brochure. So if you see our brochure and you have any concerns about that, please do keep that in mind. Are there any other questions? Okay, there's someone in the corner.
Firstly, I would like to thank the sponsors for sponsoring me to be here. And I just feel like Mom just spoke to my soul, because I am a global citizen, and primary my role is to encourage the next generation to develop skills, knowledge, and the values in order for them to engage with the world. And it's all about just letting everybody know that we all can make a difference in this world. So I've always had a challenge between doing so much work and traveling around the world as a climate and environmental activist. So that got about when I was serving at a community station in Soweto, which is where I was born. And so through that, I got a lot of recognition from the tourists that used to come in our township, and would take them for tours and would advocate for our community. And as a result, I started traveling the world. And I was never for speaking about charity works and taking pictures and all that. But then as time was going on, I was getting a challenge where I was asked, but what do you do? Let's see, send us some pictures, send us some content, and all that. So with Sister Fatima just saying and just relaying in terms of how finding the balance between what you share out there. So I think I got an answer, but I still wanted to ask, I don't think maybe it's just...
Sure, that's Sister Safia Yende, also future Muslimah Today 2023 speaker, inshallah. Just to clarify, your question is about striking a balance in terms of photography, because donors want to know what you're doing and want to see what you're doing.
Actually, that's very good a question, and it's very kind of all-encompassing. Sponsors want to know what... Somebody's after me. Okay, so it is very, very important. Yes, sponsors want to know. Get the sponsor there, buy your things. As I said, the Caring Sisters Network put everything out there and let people go and grab one and move. Grab one and move. But no pictures were taken when they were taking them. And when you are giving food, dish up your food like you are giving them to human beings and not, I don't want to insult anybody giving it to the cat or dog, because I know I have a niece who thinks her cat is the best thing on earth. And if we say pss, pss, she says, no, it's not piss, piss, it's Oreo. All right. And so you must be able to give it in such a dignified way. And you know what? There's many ways of skinning whatever, Oh, I was going to say cat again. So do it with the best intentions. Yes, they want to know. They want to know. Take pictures of their backs. Take pictures of their backs. And you know what? I know there's lots of you who would have lots of questions. I work with the Islamic Medical Association. If ever you want me to come and talk with you in little groups, I'll come and show you the way. I'll share my 52 years of experiences on how to do it. And I will make sure you don't get a bad name, and I'll get you sponsors too.
We need Lila funds. Okay, alhamdulillah, we still have 15 minutes for Q&A. Anybody else with questions? Somebody in the back? And then Sister Qureisha.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm a little shy, but I just want to say I don't have a question. It's just a small compliment. I'm in awe. Everything you just said, especially when you touched on the issue of our old parents, and how it's so important to look after them, and how we disregard them in our age. We just think we're so busy. And also it correlated so much when you also spoke about the issue of photography and maintaining people's dignity. I was just so awed with your wisdom, especially when you spoke about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. I think wisdom is having people like you, because with knowledge, you just share what you learned, but with wisdom, we learn from our old age parents, the experience they've had over the years, So Jazakallah so much. I was really, I felt uplifted and I learned a lot.
Jazakallah khairan for that feedback.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Honey. It was really inspiring. I just want to say that this question about the way in which we represent or present charity has made its rounds, especially during the time of COVID, etc. There was what in academia we call poverty porn. It says that you're portraying this in a very negative or derogatory way. But there's also another side to this whole thing about the showing out or taking photographs, etc., is the reality of the context and the situation we live in. And I found that we live in a very evil and corrupt society. And as Kanita said, we're a very broken society. It's actually a very traumatized society as well. The reality is that the common occurrence is corruption and theft. And as a result, we find that there's huge amounts of NGOs who are getting funding and subsidies from different organizations and even from the state, and those funds are not used correctly, right? They're abused, and a lot of theft happens. You must be seeing this with the old age homes as well. We saw with Life, the entire episode as well, exactly, right? So how the funds are used. And generally speaking, in South Africa, the level of trust has been eroded between state and civil society, between civil society and civil society organizations, etc. So there is a complete erosion of trust generally across the board. And the only way to rebuild that trust is to try and make people aware that there are people who are doing good. and to also make people aware of the realities of how others are usurping their funds. For example, when during COVID, the government claimed that it was giving hampers for 1,100 Rand, people started putting pictures of those hampers on social media and said, look, there's 10 items that value is equal to maybe 110 Rand, 150 Rand, and the government says it's spending 1,000 Rands for those hampers, right? Then there was criticism of, like in Pretoria, for instance, we had Muslim organizations that came together, and they, mashallah, they did a phenomenal job. They were going out and giving, because during COVID, people were literally starving. If you think about daily wage workers, who like a domestic worker who goes on piece jobs, and she earns only for that day. At the end of that day, she gets paid, and that is the subsistence that feeds her and her family. With COVID, there was no access to that work. As a result, there was no income. And so families were literally starving. And there's lots of people like that, painters, plumbers, etc., who worked on subsistence. And these Muslim organizations got together and they started to prepare hampers, all of them putting together. So on average, when they went out to do one distribution, it was like 10,000 hampers. And I know they did it a few times. And they did film it, or they did record it, and they did photograph it, and they showed the queues of the people, which was like 2, 3, 4 kilometers long of people coming to collect the hampers. And the simple reason they did that was to show two things. One, that you're contributing your money and this is where your money is going. And two, there are people who are starving in South Africa. Don't let anybody tell you other than that. So the face of this charity was to make people aware that there are people who care, build trust, you can trust us, and start reimagining how you do humanitarian work, one, yes, but also reimagine who you trust to do your humanitarian work. And so that's why I think it's, in a way, it's important.
Okay, I just would like to say that is so, so true. And I really would like to say that we need to know where's the balance. We must know how to balance this. Today you are giving, tomorrow you'll be receiving. And would you like your face to be all over there? Yes, these funders, on Saturday last week, there was a funder that came into the Chatsworth Hospice. Please, ladies, if you have old clothes, contact me. And, he came in there and he was so touched by the work that we do. And he said to us, please, I don't want my face in any paper, but I've seen what you are doing. So they have public relations officers. They have all kinds of people. Yes, I know most of our work depends on funding. I do not deny you that. But do it in a way that would elevate people receiving them rather than making them look like, otherwise, maybe you don't make them feel like beggars. But how many times, like the speaker at the end said, there's the Poppy Act. How many times do we take this little thing to paper and say, do you mind if I took a picture of you? We don't, huh? So I understand where you're coming from. I promise you, as God is up above, that I know where you're coming from. But let's do it with dignity. Wrap things up in dignity.
Okay, we had a written note sent to us. Just to note, photos taken for projects on an organizational level. Funding from donors abroad. Certain organizations inform recipients that photos taken for feedback purposes to be sent to donors and not for publishing with the public to be seen. Okay, Jazakallah khairan for that comment. It's now 12:13. Who else has a question? Okay, Sister Zora.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mine is not a question, it's rather a comment. And I think you've made some very, very valid points, Sister Honey. And yes, we got to strike that balance between sustaining and maintaining the dignity of human beings, whilst we also have to have transparency and accountability to our donors. But I feel like the elephant in the room. I represent Gift of the Givers. And I want to say, like, when you said that, do we actually ask for permission? Gift of the Givers will ask the recipients, do you want to be in this picture? And they agree, and they want it to go out there because they want to show people that the government is not doing what it's supposed to do for its population as compared to what the Gift of the Givers is doing. So that's one point. And then, of course, the accountability to the donors who are giving us the funding, and we have a mandate to spend their money where they wanted it and they need to see it. But on another point that I think we've forgotten for a while is that 30 years ago, when the Gift of the Giver started, before its official formalization, both Imtiaz and I think at that time, the world was in a space where Islam was portrayed in a very negative light with the Gulf War and all the other wars. And there was this image of Islam, of fundamentalism, terrorism, and spreading Islam through wars and things like that. So we felt that it was an important strategy for people to see Islam in its softness, kindness, merciful attitudes, and and reaching out to people and showing people that we're a religion of peace. And we reach out to everyone, irrespective of whether you're Muslim or not, and all the other categories. So I think that's very important because we're on a constant battle on social media, on other media platforms where Islam is portrayed negatively. And yes, we do have some crazy people who, just negate all the good work that's being done. But constantly we have to show that this is the Islam that is the real Islam, not the one where you see suicide bombers or things like that.
Do you want to make a comment? Okay, Seher, can we get the mic, please?
Please, you're not an elephant in the room. You are who you are. And without the gift of the givers, we'd be in a bad place. And I just would like to let you know what the gift of the givers is doing is phenomenal in my heart, to such an extent that I was the one who started a chat saying, send all donations to the gift of the givers during COVID. Imtiaz will see to it that it's given to the proper people. So, yes, I understand where you're coming from. And as I've already said, I understand we need funders. I understand all those things. But I'm not singling out any organization, not at all, least of all, the gift of the givers. Thank you.
Okay.
Give my salams and duas to your husband.
Zora Suleiman for president. Okay, we've received a comment from a Hilaal TV viewer that I'd like to share with you. Hi, my name is Jimmy Magubane in Durban. It's my first time watching the channel, and thank you for teaching about humanitarian lessons today. I am not a Muslim, but today I have learned something. Thank you. I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to raise your hands if you don't want to, but could the sisters who are not from the Islamic faith group raise their hands?
Now.
Okay.
Sorry, not for us.
Okay.
Wrong way.
Thank you for that. What's going on with the sound? Okay. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. I can take one more question. Okay, that sister puts her hand up first. In the meantime, Azra, you can answer this. Assalamu alaikum, mashallah, lovely program on TV. Where is this? Can people still attend if in Durban? Okay, it's okay. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. It's at the Durban Botanic Gardens in Durban. And yes, we have a couple of seats left, so you can come, inshallah, as long as you're female. And also the photographs that Fiaz are taking, I'm like really scared now. The photographs that Fiaz is taking, it's not for publication. I'll tell you which ones are going to be published, and I'll be seeking your explicit permission for that. We'll go through that shortly, okay? The sister with the question.
Assalamu alaikum. I apologize before I put up my question because I haven't worded it properly in my head. But I just want to round up from all the things that we've been talking about and bring it back to you. As a person who has gone through their whole life doing humanitarian work, doing all these wonderful, beautiful things, and I feel so inspired being here, of course. But I know that throughout your life, there's a lot of ugliness that you see, a lot of ugliness that you experience, and a lot of feelings that you have about the things that you have gone out and done, and you haven't, I don't want to say received the proper acknowledgement for it from the people that you're helping. But I felt like as we were going through the COVID situation and then the unrest that happened later on in the country, I had a lot of resentment for the wealthy people and for the people who are more privileged than myself in the way that they reacted to the people who were in the streets and doing whatever. And I feel like we need a discussion between the privileged and those who do not have anything. And the discussion is, how do you feel and how do you deal with those feelings when the things that are happening are doing a lot of damage to you emotionally? So I'd like to word my question as this. If the person that you are helping, if the animal that you're helping is wounded so much that it reacts to you in a violent way, how have you kept yourself in that position where you still have the intention to actually help the person that needs the help, even though they're reacting to you in a negative way? And how have you dealt with that throughout your career? And how can you impart that on ourselves, the people who are trying to bring ourselves from the underprivileged to the privileged so that we can help them? But being in this position, how yourself have you dealt with it?
This is the last question. I'm going to give Sister Honey a chance to respond, inshallah.
Okay. Jazakallah. Jazakallah for that very loaded question. Loaded. You know, throughout my life, my dad taught me that whoever the person is there, when he left me nursing school, if it's a man, it's your father. If it's a woman, it's your mother. They are children, they are your brothers and sisters. Now that's what I carried from 2nd of February 1968. And I have gone through my training and I know. I'll give you one example. Maybe this will show you. I went to an AIDS patient when AIDS was very new. It was the funeral. So the people from that Chatsworth area, I won't mention what that place was called, they then brought buckets of human waste and threw it on my car. And I could not move my car. So guess what? I decided, let me go from house to house asking for water around there. And they gave me water, and within 3 minutes, everybody were washing my car. So how could I make everybody there feel bad? I've gone in there and I still work in there. And the people, some of them call me Auntie Honey, some of them call me Ma Ali, some of them call me Granny Ali. I don't mind. You know, you've got to turn things around. You cannot. I know I've never, all my life I've suffered. I come from where we walked to school. And the children at school used to call us, without shoes, mind you, they'll call us those chicken leg children I hear at school today. Yeah. And in rainy days, we went on a donkey cart. So I'm here today to help everybody. I'm not going to single out people who feel that they are going to hurt me. What they do to hurt me, I say is a blessing to me. It's gone straight to Allah to bless me.